How's your heart today? Some kinds of loneliness are hard to explain because nothing around them looks broken. The dishes get done, the bills get paid, messages get answered, and the day keeps moving like it always does. From the outside, life can seem steady, even full, while something inside quietly goes unfed. Tonight is for that kind of loneliness, the kind that hides inside ordinary routines and makes you feel confused for feeling it at all. The first letter comes from someone who loved their family deeply and still felt strangely alone in the middle of it. I used to think loneliness meant being physically by yourself. I know now that it can also happen in a house full of people you love. I live 10 minutes from my parents and 20 minutes from my brother. We are not estranged, no one is cold, no one is cruel. On paper, I have the kind of adult family life people say they want. We have a group chat. We meet for birthdays. My mother still sends photos of whatever she cooked that day, and my father still calls every appliance by the wrong name and laughs like it is a personal talent. It is all very normal. Maybe that is why it took me so long to admit how lonely I had become inside it. A lot of it started after my grandmother died. Not because of the grief itself, but because of what disappeared with her. She used to be the one who made everyone sit down longer. The one who asked the second question after your automatic, "I'm fine." The one who made ordinary dinners feel like places you arrived emotionally, not just physically. After she was gone, our family stayed loving, but somehow became efficient. Now, dinner at my parents' house often looks like this. My mother serving rice with one hand and checking the stove with the other. My father halfway through a story nobody hears because the television is on. My brother answering a work message. Me saying everything smells so good, like that counts as presents. We are all there. We are all tired. We all love each other. And somehow I drive home with the ache of someone who was never fully met. For a long time, I judged myself for that feeling. I would think, what is wrong with you? Some people would give anything to still have family dinners. Some people do not get phone calls from their parents. Some people do not have a place to go on Sunday. And all of that is true. Gratitude and loneliness can sit at the same table. It took me years to understand that. The strangest part is that nobody did anything wrong. Life simply became crowded. My parents got older in subtle ways that made them more practical. My brother became the kind of adult who answers emails between bites. I became someone who kept arriving with low-grade exhaustion and calling it maturity. We were all trying. We just stopped lingering. A few months ago, my mother asked me to come early before dinner because she needed help moving some boxes from the hallway closet. We pulled out old photo albums, folded tablecloths, school certificates, a broken lamp none of us could explain keeping. At the back of one shelf, I found a stack of handwritten birthday cards my grandmother had saved. Every card from every year. Tiny notes in uneven ink. Proud of you, eat well, rest more. You look tired in this photo. I laughed when I read that one, and then I started crying so suddenly it embarrassed me. My mother looked up from the floor and asked what happened. I almost said, "Nothing," the way I always do. But for once I didn't. I said, "I think I miss being noticed." She went quiet, not hurt. Just quiet in the way people get when a truth lands somewhere tender. Then she sat down beside me and said, "I think we've all been living next to each other lately." I have replayed that sentence so many times. Living next to each other. That was exactly it. Not separated by anger. Not divided by some major wound. Just close enough to remain connected, but busy enough to stop really arriving. That night, dinner was simple. Soup, grilled fish, greens, rice. My brother came late and still smelled like the office elevator somehow. My father talked about a man from his neighborhood who keeps overwatering a plant he clearly does not understand. It should have been forgettable, but halfway through the meal, my mother turned off the television. No announcement. Just silence, then the sound of spoons against bowls. My father looked surprised. My brother put his phone face down. And for 20 quiet minutes, we were not performing family. We were just in it. Since then, nothing has transformed into a perfect movie version of closeness. We still get distracted. We still rush. We still have dinners where everyone seems mentally parked somewhere else. But now I try to stay a little longer after dessert. I ask my father to finish the story. I tell my mother when I am more tired than I look. Sometimes I send my brother a message that says something real instead of something useful. I think I spent years expecting loneliness to look dramatic before I gave myself permission to name it. But mine looked like clean plates, familiar voices, and a very ordinary drive home. The hardest part was realizing I did not need a different family. I just needed to stop pretending that surface closeness was the same as being seen. Sometimes loneliness is not a sign that love is absent. Sometimes it is a sign that love has become too rushed to speak in full sentences. The next letter is about what that can look like inside a relationship that never seemed to be in danger. The loneliest season of my life happened while I was sharing a bed with someone I truly loved. Eli and I were together for 7 years. If you had met us then, you probably would have called us solid. We paid rent on time. We split groceries. We remembered each other's coffee orders. We had inside jokes, vacation photos, a bookshelf we built badly and kept anyway. There was no betrayal, no screaming, no cinematic collapse. Just two decent people becoming more organized than connected. I did not notice it at first, because normal life is very good at disguising emotional distance. When you both work full-time, a quiet relationship can look responsible. We became excellent at logistics. Who is picking up detergent? What time is the plumber coming? Did you answer your mother? Are we out of eggs? We spoke every day, but so much of it was about managing life that I stopped noticing how rarely we were actually reaching each other. At night, we lay in the same room under the same blanket with two different kinds of exhaustion. He would scroll on his phone. I would say I was too tired to talk, even when what I really meant was that I no longer knew how to begin. Not because I had stopped loving him, because I had gotten too used to postponing tenderness until after the week got easier. One Friday, Eli came home carrying groceries and a little bakery box. He had remembered that the lemon cake from the place near my office was my favorite. I thanked him, kissed his cheek, and kept typing because I was finishing something for work. Later, I found the unopened box in the fridge. I had forgotten about it entirely. He had not said anything. That hurt me more than if he had. The next morning, I cut a slice and ate it standing by the sink while he was out for a run. It was still good. That almost made me cry. Someone had tried to bring sweetness into our life, and I had treated it like another object to be stored for later. Things like that kept happening. Small gestures, arriving at the wrong emotional address. He would ask if I wanted to watch a movie, and I would say maybe tomorrow. I would sit beside him on the couch while thinking about work. He would rest his hand on my leg, and I would register it only as background comfort, not as communication. We were not unhappy enough to panic. That was part of the problem. One rainy evening, the power went out in our apartment building for about an hour. No Wi-Fi, no lights except the battery candles Eli found in the hall closet. No screens bright enough to hide inside. We sat at the kitchen table eating cereal for dinner because everything in the freezer was defrosting. I remember the room looked softer in the candlelight, less efficient somehow. For a while we just listened to the rain and the distant sounds of other apartments adjusting to the dark. Then Eli said, very calmly, I miss you, and you're right here. I wish I could explain how quiet that sentence was. He did not say it to wound me. He said it like someone finally setting down something heavy they had been carrying politely. I stared at my spoon for a full 10 seconds before I answered. Because the truth was, I missed him too. I missed the version of us that talked in the kitchen for no reason. I missed when touch was not just passing contact on the way to the next task. I missed being looked at long enough to stop performing capability. What I said was, I know. Which was a terribly small response to a very honest sentence. But it was all I had that night. We tried after that. We took walks without our phones. We ate dinner at the table more often. We asked each other better questions. Some of it helped. Some of it came too late. Love had not vanished, but we had both become lonely in ways that made us quieter instead of closer. When we eventually ended things, it was not because we did not care. It was because care alone does not replace presence. I think that is one of the saddest adult truths. You can love someone sincerely and still let the relationship become emotionally underfed. I still think about that power outage. How strange that losing electricity gave us back one honest conversation. How easy it had been to mistake shared routines for shared life. What I never told Eli clearly enough was this: I was not lonely because he failed me. I was lonely because I kept bringing him the tiredest, most postponed version of myself and calling that commitment. Now, when I feel the urge to say later to someone I love, I pay attention. Later is useful for errands. It is dangerous for tenderness. Some people teach us about loneliness not by leaving us, but by noticing it in us before we do. The last letter is about one of those people and the ordinary kindness that made a life feel less empty. There was a woman at my old job who saved me without ever once asking for that role. Her name was Nina, and technically she was just my coworker. Same department, different desk row, same break room with the unreliable microwave and the fake plant that collected more dust than dignity. She was not my best friend. We never took a trip together. We were never part of some dramatic life-changing story. That is exactly why I think about her so often. At the time, my life looked fine from every obvious angle. I had stable work, a decent apartment, friends I saw occasionally, parents who called, a social life that photographed better than it felt. I was functioning so well that even I believed the surface version most days. But there was a season when I started dreading evenings for reasons I could not explain. I would come home, put my keys in the bowl by the door, heat up dinner, and feel this low hum of emptiness under everything. Nothing terrible had happened. I just felt unaccompanied by my own life. It is hard to admit that when adulthood teaches you to measure wellness by whether you are keeping up. Nina began noticing small things. She would ask if I had eaten lunch because my snack drawer never seemed to stay full. She would hand me half an orange during meetings where everyone looked like wilted office plants. If I said, "I'm good," too quickly, she would tilt her head in a way that made the sentence fall apart on its own. One Tuesday, she found me standing in the break room staring at the coffee machine like it had personally betrayed me. I had slept badly for weeks. My sink at home was full. I had answered messages with cheerful punctuation all day and felt oddly fraudulent doing it. Nina walked in, looked at me for 1 second, and said, "You don't seem sad. You seem alone." No one had ever separated those two things for me before. I laughed at first because it felt too accurate to accept immediately. Then I surprised myself by tearing up right there beside the stale office cookies. I told her I did not understand why I felt so off. My life was normal. Work was fine. Family was fine. Nothing was wrong enough to explain it. She nodded and said, "Sometimes nothing is wrong. You just haven't been emotionally accompanied in a while." That sentence followed me home. Emotionally accompanied. I had never heard loneliness described that way, but it fit better than anything else. I was not craving noise or constant company. I was craving the feeling that my inner life was landing somewhere. After that, Nina did not become overly intense or turn into some perfect mentor character. She just kept being steady in ordinary ways. She asked real questions and waited through the pause after them. She invited me to eat lunch outside when the office air felt too recycled to survive. Once, on a Thursday I had nearly canceled myself out of sheer tiredness, she texted me after work, "Soup place, 10 minutes, no excuses." We sat in a small restaurant near the station with fogged up windows and too many hanging lights. I remember the bowls were too hot to touch for the first few minutes. I remember telling her I felt ridiculous for struggling in such a normal life. And I remember her saying, "Normal lives still need warmth." That may be one of the kindest things anyone has ever said to me. We both left that company years ago. We do not talk every week. Adult friendship has its own weather. But every now and then, one of us sends the other a message that is refreshingly unpolished. Not the tidy version. The real one. A hard week. A quiet win. A confession that we are more tired than we look. She taught me that loneliness is not always solved by becoming busier, prettier, more grateful, or more productive. Sometimes it softens because one person makes enough room for your interior life to exist out loud. I used to think I needed a more exciting life to feel less alone. What I really needed was more honest contact inside the life I already had. Loneliness does not always mean you are doing life wrong. Sometimes it just means your heart has been living too long without a witness. If tonight felt uncomfortably familiar, I hope it also felt a little relieving. There is nothing strange about feeling lonely in a life that looks normal from the outside. Sometimes the most healing thing is simply naming the ache accurately and letting that truth be small, human, and real. Maybe tonight is a good night to reach towards someone who makes room for the unpolished version of you. And if these letters gave your inner life somewhere to land, stay with Mind Light a little longer.